The hospital corridor smelled like bleach and fear. Amma ran, her heels clicking against sterile tile. Jean 3 steps behind her, both of them moving too fast for the calm this place demanded. She'd gotten the call 6 minutes ago. Mansuk had collapsed during physical therapy. Cardiac event. Rushed to emergency. But that wasn't what made her blood ice over. It was the second call, the one from the security team, the one that came 30 seconds after the first. His IV bag was tampered with. She burst through the ER doors, nearly colliding with a nurse. "Choi Mansuk, where is he?" "Ma'am, you can't." "Where is he?" The nurse pointed to a curtained area. Amma shoved past her, Jean blocking anyone who tried to follow. She ripped the curtain back. Mansuk lay on a bed, oxygen mask over his face, monitors beeping erratically. His eyes were closed, skin too pale, chest rising and falling in shallow gasps. A doctor was adjusting an IV, a new IV, Amma noticed, while 2 nurses checked vitals. "What happened?" Amma demanded. The doctor looked up, recognized her, and his expression shifted to something carefully neutral. "Mrs. Choi, your husband had a severe reaction to something in his system. We're running toxicology now, but his heart rate spiked dangerously. We've stabilized him. But what? We found trace amounts of a cardiac stimulant in his IV bag. Someone added it, recently. Whoever did this knew exactly how much to use to trigger a crisis without immediately killing him." Amma's world tilted. Not an accident, not a mistake, a demonstration. A message that said, we can kill him anytime we want. This time, we chose not to. She moved to Mansuk's side, took his hand. His fingers were cold. "Will he recover?" "Yes, but Mrs. Choi." The doctor hesitated. "This wasn't meant to kill him. It was meant to warn you." She already knew that, had known it the moment Jean called, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real in a way that carved out her chest. Jean appeared at her elbow. Hospital security footage shows a maintenance worker entering the room during Mansuk's session. ID badge was cloned, same technique Min-hee used on Minji. "Find him," Amma said, not looking away from Mansuk's face. "I want him alive." "Already on it. But Mrs. Choi." Jean's voice dropped lower. The worker received a call 3 minutes before entering the room. The call originated from a blocked number, but we traced the cell tower. The signal bounced through 4 different locations before landing at a private office building in Gangnam. "Which building?" "Park Group, headquarters." Amma's breath caught. Park Group, one of Korea's largest semiconductor empires, publicly legitimate, politically connected, untouchable, and run by a family she'd never even considered as enemies. Why would Park Group target Mansuk, she asked. Jean pulled out his tablet, showed her a file. Park Ji-yoon, 38, Harvard MBA, took over Park Group after his father died 3 years ago. Clean record, philanthropist, tech innovator. But he swiped to another screen. 6 months ago, we shut down a shipping operation that was moving illegal materials through Busan. We never identified who owned it. Turns out, it was a Park Group subsidiary, hidden under 7 shell companies. Amma stared at the photo on the screen. Park Ji-yoon had sharp features, dark eyes that seemed to see too much, the kind of face that belonged to either a saint or a devil. In the photo, he was shaking hands with the Korean president, smiling like someone who'd never hurt anyone. "How much did we cost him when we shut down that operation?" she asked. Conservative estimate, 200 million. But that's not the point. We exposed a weakness in his network, made him vulnerable, made him look careless to his real partners. His real partners? Jean hesitated. "Mrs. Choi, Park Group isn't just semiconductors. According to our intelligence, they control one of the largest gray market shipping networks in Asia. Weapons, rare earth minerals, technology that shouldn't cross certain borders, all disguised as legitimate cargo. They have reach into 14 countries, including parts of Africa. Port authorities, customs officials, politicians, all on the payroll." Amma's feelings pieces clicking into place. Min-hee wasn't working alone. She was working for them. It appears so, and Soo-jin's death wasn't suicide, it was cleanup, Park Group tying up loose ends. On the bed, Mansuk's breathing changed, deepened. Amma squeezed his hand, watched his eyes flutter open behind the oxygen mask. He saw her, tried to speak. "Shh," she murmured, leaning close. "Don't talk. You're safe now." But his eyes were urgent, afraid. He pulled the mask down slightly. "Amma, someone in the room." "I know. We're handling it." "No." His grip tightened on her hand with surprising strength. He said to tell you, the games have evolved." Amma went very still. "Who said that?" "Maintenance worker. Before I passed out." He leaned close and whispered it. Mensuk's eyes locked on hers. He said, "Tell your wife, the players have changed. This is bigger than her small war." June was already typing on his tablet. "The worker is dead. Found in a service closet 20 minutes ago. Single gunshot to the head. Professional." Of course he was dead. They'd never risk him talking. Amma stood, kissed Mansuk's forehead. "I need you to stay here. June's posting a full security team. No one gets in or out without clearance." "Where are you going?" "To introduce myself to Park June." "Amma, don't. They came into a hospital. They poisoned you in a place meant for healing. They crossed every line." Her voice was ice. "I'm going to make sure they understand what that costs." Park Group headquarters was a gleaming tower of glass and steel in the heart of Gangnam. Amma walked through the lobby in a blood-red power suit. No appointment, no warning. Just the kind of entrance that made receptionists nervous. "I'm here to see Park June," she told the woman at the front desk. "Do you have an appointment, Mrs. Choi?" "Amma Choi. And no, I don't need one." The receptionist's eyes widened slightly. Good. Her reputation preceded her. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Park's schedule is fully—" Amma leaned forward, placed both hands on the desk. "Call him. Tell him Amma Choi is in his lobby and would like to discuss the attempted murder of her husband this morning. I'll wait exactly 3 minutes. After that, I start making phone calls to journalists who would love to hear about Park Group's shipping subsidiaries in Busan." The receptionist picked up the phone. 2 minutes later, Amma stepped into a private elevator that shot up to the 45th floor. The doors opened directly into an office that was all windows and minimalism, white furniture, carefully curated art, the aesthetic of someone who wanted to appear clean. Park June stood at the window, looking out at Seoul's skyline. He didn't turn when she entered. "Mrs. Choi," he said, "I've been expecting you." "Then you know why I'm here." "I have theories." He turned, and Amma was struck by how different he looked in person. The photos hadn't captured the intelligence in his eyes, or the controlled power in the way he moved. He was tall, elegant, dangerous in the way a blade was dangerous, all precision and edge. "Your husband's unfortunate incident this morning, I heard. How is he?" "Alive, despite someone's best efforts." "I'm glad to hear it." He gestured to a chair. "Please, sit." "I'd rather stand." "Suit yourself." June moved to a sidebar, poured 2 glasses of whiskey, set one on the table between them. "I imagine you have questions." "I have demands, starting with, call off your dogs." He smiled, and it was a kind of smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You think I'm responsible for what happened to your husband?" "I think someone in your organization made a call to a maintenance worker who poisoned my husband's IV. I think that same worker is now dead because you don't leave witnesses, and I think you're testing me to see how I'll respond." June picked up his whiskey, swirled it thoughtfully. "You're partially correct. Yes, the call originated from this building. Yes, the worker is dead. But no, Mrs. Choi, I am not testing you. Someone else is, using my resources without my knowledge or permission." Amma studied him, trying to read the truth beneath the polish. "You expect me to believe you don't control your own organization? I expect you to understand that power is an illusion. We think we control our empires, but really we're just the face people see, while others pull the strings." He took a sip of his drink. 6 months ago, you shut down one of my shipping operations. Cost me money, yes, but more importantly, it embarrassed me in front of certain stakeholders, people who don't tolerate weakness. The syndicate. His eyebrow raised slightly. You've done your homework. I know about your network, the shipping lanes, the gray markets, the political connections. I know Part Group is a front for something much darker. And yet you walked into my building alone, brave or foolish? Neither. Strategic. Because if you wanted me dead, I'd already be dead. The fact that I'm standing here means you want something from me. June's smile widened this time, genuine. I was told you were clever, then undersold it. He set down his glass, moved closer, not threatening but deliberate. You're right, I do want something. I want you to understand that what's happening to your family isn't personal, it's business. The people I answer to, the ones who really run this network, they see you as a threat, a wild card, someone who disrupted their operations and got away with it. So they're, what, trying to bring me to heel? They're trying to recruit you. Amma went very still. Excuse me? You killed Kang De-jun, took over Koi Industries, built an empire in 6 months. You have reach, resources, and most importantly, you're ruthless when you need to be. The syndicate doesn't waste talent. It either recruits it or eliminates it. And right now, they're deciding which category you fall into. What if I don't want to be recruited? Then they'll kill everyone you love and make you watch, starting with your husband, then your daughter. Then they'll leave you alive in a world where everything that made you human is gone. His voice was ice. Is that what you want? Amma's hands clenched into fists. What do you want, Park Jun? I want the same thing you do, to protect what's mine, to survive in a world that eats the weak. And to do that, I need allies, not enemies. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a phone, showed her a photo. It was the maintenance worker, alive before someone put a bullet in his head, and standing next to him giving him instructions was someone Amma recognized. Her blood went cold. Secretary Yang, Mansek's former assistant, the one they'd fired 6 months ago for stealing company funds, the one who disappeared after. Yang's been working for the syndicate since Kong died, June said quietly. He was their eyes inside Koi Industries. When you fired him, you didn't eliminate a threat. You just pushed him deeper underground. Where is he now? That's the problem. I don't know. He's gone rogue, using syndicate resources to wage his own personal war against you. The attack on your husband, that was Yang, using my people without authorization, making it look like I sanctioned it. Why would he do that? Because he wants you and me to destroy each other, wants the syndicate to think I'm incompetent and you're uncontrollable, wants them to eliminate both of us so he can take our place. Amma processed this, her mind racing through implications. You're asking me to trust you. I'm asking you to be smart. Yang is going to keep escalating. Next time, it won't be a warning. It'll be your husband's funeral or your daughter's. June's voice dropped lower. I can help you find him. I have resources you don't, access to places you can't reach. But I need something in return. What? An alliance. Real. Binding. Permanent. You use your connections in Korea's legitimate business world. I use my connections in the shadows. We together eliminate Yang and anyone else who threatens what we've built. And after Yang, we help each other survive. The syndicate isn't going away, Mrs. Choi. It's growing, reaching into governments, corporations, every corner of the world economy. You can either join us and have a seat at the table, or you can keep fighting alone until they bury you. Amma wanted to refuse, wanted to walk out of this office and never look back, but she thought about Mansik in that hospital bed, about Ji-hee sleeping safely only because they'd hidden her away, about the text message that promised this was just the beginning. How do I know you're telling the truth? June pulled out another phone, different from the first, handed it to her. This contains Yang's communication logs for the past month. Everything, his contacts, his plans, his next 3 moves, including the one scheduled for tomorrow night. Alma looked at the screen, saw messages, coordinates, timelines, and there, scheduled for 2300 tomorrow, final phase, target Choi residence, objective, leverage. Leverage. They were coming for Ji-hee. Her hands started shaking. How did you get this? I have a source in Yang's operation, someone who's been feeding me information, someone who wants him dead as much as you do. Who? That's need to know, and right now you don't need to know. What you need is to decide if you're going to accept my help or try to protect your family alone. Amma looked at him, really looked at him, saw the calculation behind the charm, the ruthlessness beneath the polish. Park Jun was dangerous, maybe more dangerous than anyone she'd faced before, but he was also offering her something she desperately needed: information, resources, a way to stay ahead of an enemy who seemed to know every one of her moves. If I agree to this alliance, she said slowly, what exactly does it entail? Shared intelligence, coordinated operations. You don't move against syndicate interests without clearing it with me first. I don't make decisions that affect Korean business without your input. We become partners. Partners implies equality. Something tells me the syndicate doesn't believe in equality. The syndicate believes in results. Deliver them, and they don't care how you share power. He took the phone back, slipped it into his pocket. I'm offering you a chance to survive, Mrs. Choi. More than that, to thrive, to build something bigger than what you have now, to protect your family not through constant warfare, but through positioning yourself so high no one can reach you. It was tempting. God, it was tempting. But Alma had learned the hard way that every alliance came with strings. Every partnership was just another cage. I need time to think, she said. You have until tomorrow at 2200. After that, Yang makes his move, and your daughter becomes a pawn in a game you can't win alone. Ji-yoon moved back to the window, dismissing her. The elevator is waiting. Jean's downstairs, I assume, ready to shoot me if you don't come out in the next 5 minutes. How did you... I know everything about you, Amma Choi. Your security protocols, your husband's medical history, your daughter's favorite color. He glanced back at her. That's not a threat. It's a demonstration. I could have hurt you 1,000 different ways by now, but I didn't. Because unlike Yang, I understand that you're worth more alive than dead. Amma walked to the elevator, pressed the button. The doors opened. She stepped inside, turned to face him one last time. If you're lying to me, she said, if any of this is a trap, I will burn Park Group to the ground. I'm counting on it, Ji-yoon replied. Fire recognizes fire, Mrs. Choi. That's why I chose you. The elevator doors closed. That night, Amma sat in Man-suk's hospital room, watching him sleep under heavy sedation. The doctors wanted to keep him for observation. Jean had posted 8 guards outside the door and 2 inside. No one was getting close to him again. But Amma knew security was an illusion. If Yang, or the syndicate, or whoever was really pulling the strings wanted Man-suk dead, he'd be dead. The only question was timing. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, almost let it go to voicemail. But something made her pick up. Hello, Amma. Yang's voice was smooth, familiar, exactly as she remembered. I hope Man-suk's feeling better. Amma's grip tightened on the phone. Where are you? Close, watching, waiting. You know how this works. What do you want? The same thing everyone wants. Power, recognition, a seat at the table that was denied to me. He paused. You know, I worked for Man-suk for 8 years. 8 years of loyalty, and the moment I made one mistake, you threw me away like garbage. You embezzled 2 million won. I borrowed it, was going to pay it back, but you didn't care about the truth. You just wanted to flex your new power, show everyone that the queen could execute anyone she wanted. This isn't about money. No, Yang agreed. It's about respect, about showing you that all your power, all your influence, all your guards and guns and alliances, none of it matters, because I can still reach you. I can still hurt you, and tomorrow night I'm going to prove it. Amma's blood went cold. If you touch my daughter, I won't touch her. I don't need to. I just need you to know I could. That's the difference between power and control, Amma. You have power, but I have control over your fear, over your choices, over your life. The line went dead. Amma sat there, staring at the phone, feeling the weight of Yang's words settle over her like a shroud. He was right. All her carefully constructed security, all her alliances and strategies, they meant nothing if the enemy could predict her every move. Unless... She pulled out the phone Ji-yoon had given her, looked at the communication logs again, saw Yang's pattern, his tells, his weaknesses, and she saw something else, something that made her pause. The final message in Yang's logs wasn't about Ji-hee. It was about a meeting. Tomorrow night, 23:30. Location, a warehouse in Incheon. Attendees, Yang and his partner. His partner. Someone else working with him. Someone the logs didn't name. Amma's mind raced. Was this Ji-yoon's source? Or was it someone else entirely? Someone playing all of them? Only one way to find out. She texted Ji-yoon, "I'm in, but we do this my way." The response came 30 seconds later. "Agreed. I'll send you the details." Amma looked at Mansik, sleeping peacefully under the influence of medication, thought about Ji-hee, safe in a house 3 hours away, protected by men who would die before letting anyone hurt her. And she thought about the woman she'd been a year ago, before Kang, before the killings, before she learned that power always demanded more than you wanted to give. That woman was gone, dead, buried under the weight of crowns and consequences. But maybe, just maybe, there was still something worth saving, some piece of her humanity that hadn't been sacrificed on the altar of survival. She stood, kissed Mansik's forehead, whispered, "I'm sorry for what I'm about to become." Then she walked out, ready to make a deal with the devil to save her family from another. The warehouse in Incheon was exactly the kind of place where bad things happened. Abandoned, isolated, surrounded by shipping containers and rusted cranes. Amma arrived 45 minutes early with Jean and a team of 12. They set up surveillance, mapped exits, prepared for every contingency. Ji-yoon arrived 15 minutes later, alone, which either meant he was confident or stupid. Amma suspected the former. "Your security is obvious," he said, not bothering with pleasantries. "Yang will spot them a mile away." "That's the point. I want him to see Jean and my men, want him focused on them while you and I move into position." Ji-yoon's eyebrow raised. "You trust me to watch your back?" "I trust you to want Yang dead as much as I do. That's enough for now." They moved through the warehouse together, silent, efficient. Ji-yoon clearly had done this before. He moved like someone comfortable with violence, someone who knew how to survive in the shadows. "How did you end up running Part Group?" Amma asked quietly as they took position behind a stack of crates. "Someone with your skills doesn't usually end up in legitimate business. My father wanted me to have options, sent me to Harvard, groomed me for the public role, but he also made sure I understood the real business, the power behind the power." Ji-yoon's voice was soft. "When my father died, I inherited both worlds, the company and the syndicate connections. Most people would have chosen one or the other. I chose both." "That can't be easy, living two lives," says the woman who went from college student to Mafia queen in 6 months. Fair point. At 20:15, headlights appeared in the distance. A single black car pulled up to the warehouse. Yang stepped out, followed by a figure in dark clothing. Amma's breath caught. The figure pulled back their hood. Minji, her assistant, her loyal, trustworthy, innocent assistant. "No," Amma whispered. "That's not possible." But it was. Minji stood next to Yang, looking nothing like the sweet, nervous woman who brought Amma coffee every morning. This Minji was cold, focused, dangerous. June touched Amma's arm. "Did you know?" "No. God, no. She was vetted. Jean cleared her personally. Then Yang got to her, turned her, probably threatened someone she loves. They watched as Yang and Minji entered the warehouse. Amma's mind raced through every conversation, every document Minji had seen, every secret she'd been privy to. She knows everything, Amma breathed. Every security protocol, every safe house location, every... Where Ji-hee is, June finished. Amma was moving before she could think. Jean grabbed her arm. Mrs. Choi, wait. This could be a trap. I don't care. If Yang knows where Ji-hee is, then rushing in gets you killed and doesn't save your daughter. Jiun's voice was calm, rational. We stick to the plan. We take them both alive. We find out exactly what they know. Then we eliminate the threat. Amma wanted to argue, wanted to storm in there and rip the truth from Minji's throat. But Jiun was right. Panic got people killed. She forced herself to breathe, to think, to become the cold, calculating woman this situation demanded. Jean, she said quietly, move your team into position. I want them surrounded, but I want them alive. Copy that. They moved like chess pieces, precise and coordinated. Jean's team closed in from 3 sides, while Amma and Ji-yoon approached from the 4th. Inside the warehouse, Yang and Minji stood in the center, talking in low voices. Amma caught fragments. Tomorrow morning, when she's least expecting, make sure there's no body to find. They were planning Ji-hee's abduction, maybe worse. Amma stepped out of the shadows, gun drawn. Hello, Yang. Both figures spun. Yang's face split into a smile. Amma, right on time. Let's skip the banter. Tell me where you sent your people and I'll make this quick. Quick? Where's the fun in that? Yang's days shifted to June. And you brought Park. How delightfully predictable. Did he tell you we were partners? Amma's gun didn't waver. He told me you went rogue. Did he? Yang laughed. June, you're getting creative with the truth. Should I tell her or do you want to? June's expression didn't change. He's lying, trying to turn us against each other. Am I? Yang pulled out a phone, showed Amma a photo. This was taken 3 weeks ago. June and I finalizing our arrangement. He provides the resources, I provide the execution. Together, we eliminate you and split your territory. The photo showed June and Yang shaking hands in what looked like a private office. Same office Amma realized where she'd met June earlier that day. Her heart stopped. She looked at June. Tell me he's lying. June's face was unreadable. It's complicated. Complicated? Amma's voice rose. You set me up. This whole thing, the alliance, the information, the trust, it was all a trap. No, June said, and there was something in his voice that almost sounded genuine. The meeting happened, but not for the reason Yang thinks. I was gathering information, trying to figure out his next move. By shaking his hand, by making a deal, by making him think I was on his side. June finally looked at her. Yang approached me a month ago, said he wanted to take you down. I played along, gathered evidence, waited for the right moment to flip him. Yang clapped slowly. Beautiful performance, almost convincing. But here's the problem, June. I have recordings, voice recordings of every conversation we had, every plan we made, every promise you gave me. He smiled. So either you're lying to her right now, or you were lying to me then. Either way, someone's getting played. Amma's mind spun. Who was telling the truth? June, with his smooth explanations and convenient timing, or Yang, with his evidence and recordings? And Minji who stood silent through all of this, watching with dead eyes. Minji, Amma said, turning to her, talk to me. Whatever Yang has on you, whatever he threatened, I can protect you. Just tell me the truth. Minji's laugh was bitter. Protect me? Like you protected Soo-jin? Like you protected Min-hee? You don't protect anyone, Amma. You use people. You manipulate them. You make them believe they matter, and then you discard them the moment they're not useful anymore. That's not true. Isn't it? You killed Kong, took over his empire, married Mensuk, built your perfect life on the bodies of everyone who got in your way, and now you're acting like the victim when people finally fight back. Yang got to you, Amma said, turned you against me. But Minji, listen. No, you listen. Minji stepped forward. Yang didn't turn me, he freed me, showed me the truth about who you are, what you've become, and he gave me a choice, help him destroy you or watch my sister die. So that was it. Yang had found Minji's pressure point, her younger sister, the one she sent money to every month, the one she never talked about. Where's your sister now? Amma asked gently. Safe, as long as I do what Yang wants. And what does he want? Minji's hand moved to her pocket, pulled out a phone. He wants you to watch. She pressed a button. On the phone screen, a live video feed appeared. A room, a chair, and tied to that chair, Mensuk. Not in the hospital, not safe, not protected, tied to a chair with a gun to his head. Alma's world collapsed. No, that's not possible. He's in the hospital. I left him. You left him with guards, Yang continued, his voice full of satisfaction. Guards who work for me, who've been on my payroll before you fired me. They moved him 20 minutes ago, sedated, transported, delivered to my associates. And now he's leverage. The person holding the gun to Mensuk's head stepped into frame. Someone Amma didn't recognize. Young, cold-eyed, professional. Here's how this works, Yang continued. You're going to transfer control of Choi Industries to a shell company I control. You're going to sign documents that legally remove you from any position of power. And you're going to do it in the next 10 minutes, or my associate puts a bullet in your husband's brain and sends you the video. Amma couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every instinct screamed to act, to fight, to burn everything down. But Mensuk was staring into the camera, fear and helplessness written across his face, and she couldn't risk him. Don't do it, June said quietly beside her. The moment you sign, you're dead anyway. Yang gets the company and eliminates you. It's a lose-lose. And if I don't sign, Mensuk dies. He might die either way. Amma looked at him, at this man she'd almost trusted, this devil offering alliance. What would you do if someone had your family? June's expression was dark. I'd burn the world down, but I'd do it smart. There's no smart here. There's only impossible choices. No, June said. There's one play, one move that saves Mensuk and destroys Yang, but you have to trust me, really trust me, right now. Amma stared at him, at Yang smirking across the warehouse, at Minji with her dead eyes and blackmailed loyalty, at the video feed showing her husband with a gun to his head. And she thought about what Mensuk had said. Before you wake up one day and realize you've become the villain in our daughter's story. Was this that moment? Was this when she chose power over love? When she became the thing she'd sworn to never be? Or was this when she finally learned that the only way to protect what you love was to become something even the monsters feared? Amma met June's gaze, saw something there she recognized. Darkness, ruthlessness, but also calculation, strategy, the kind of mind that played 3 moves ahead. What's the play? She whispered. June's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Trust me. He pulled out his phone, made a call, spoke a single word. Now. On Minji's phone screen, the video feed glitched. Static. Then, the room flooded with armed men. Yang's associate went down in seconds, disarmed, restrained. Mensuk was pulled to safety, shaken but alive. Amma's knees nearly gave out. Yang's face went white. That's not possible. That location was compromised, June finished. From the moment you took him. Did you really think I didn't have eyes on your entire operation? That I didn't know about your safe houses, your soldiers, your plans? He stepped forward, and for the first time, Amma saw the real part June, not the polished CEO, the syndicate operative. You were always a pawn, Yang. Let you believe your little games mattered. But the truth is, you were always a pawn. And now, he nodded to Jean, you're eliminated. Jean's men moved in fast. Yang tried to run, but Jean caught him, slammed him to the ground. Minji didn't fight, just stood there, tears streaming down her face, whispering, "My sister, please, my sister." "She's safe," June said, "already extracted, on a plane to Singapore. By tomorrow, she'll have a new identity, a new life, far from any of this. I have my word." Minji collapsed, sobbing. Yang struggled against Jean's hold. "You can't do this. The syndicate will—" "The syndicate authorized this," June said coldly. "Did you really think they'd tolerate a rogue operative, someone who exposed their networks, made them vulnerable, all for a personal vendetta?" He crouched down to Yang's level. "You were dead the moment you went freelance. I just gave you enough rope to hang yourself." Amma watched it all unfold, her mind still reeling. "The whole thing? All of it? You knew?" "Not all of it," June admitted. "Minji's involvement surprised me, but Yang's plans, his timeline, his location for holding Mansuk, I've known for weeks. I just needed you to see it, to understand what you're really fighting against." "Why?" "Because the syndicate wanted to test you, see if you'd break under pressure, see if you'd sacrifice your family for power, or power for your family, see if you are worth recruiting or eliminating." Amma felt cold spreading through her chest. This was all a test? My husband almost died for a test? "Your husband was never in real danger. The IV tampering was monitored. We had counter-agents ready. The whole thing was theater." June's voice softened slightly. "I'm sorry for the fear, but you needed to feel it, needed to understand what the syndicate is capable of, what your enemies can do." "And what did your test conclude?" June looked at her with something that might have been respect. "That you're dangerous, that you love fiercely enough to burn the world down, that you're exactly the kind of person the syndicate needs." He paused. "And that you're also the kind of person who might destroy them from the inside." "So which am I? Recruit or target?" "That depends on what you choose next." Amma looked at Yang, broken and bleeding on the warehouse floor, looked at Minji, still sobbing, trauma and relief mixing on her face, looked at Jean, waiting for orders, and finally at June, this man who'd orchestrated everything, who'd pushed her to the edge to see how far she'd fall. "I choose my family," she said. "I choose Mansuk and Ji-hee. I choose to walk away from all of this, your syndicate, your tests, your wars. I'm done." June nodded slowly. "I thought you might say that, which is why I've prepared to offer you something better than recruitment." "What could possibly be better?" "Freedom, real freedom, protection that doesn't require you to sell your soul. I can make the syndicate back off, permanently, mark you and your family as untouchable, but it requires one thing." "What?" "You have to give me something they want more than you, something valuable enough to trade." Amma's mind raced. What could I possibly have that they'd want? June pulled out a data stick. 6 months ago, when you took over Choi Industries, you inherited Kong's files, financial records, shipping manifests, names of every person he'd ever worked with. Most of that got destroyed or hidden, but Jean's forensics team recovered something, a backup drive, encrypted, containing every transaction Kong made with the syndicate over 20 years. I don't have that. No, but Jean does. June looked at Jean, who looked at Amma. It's been sitting in a secure server, insurance against exactly this kind of situation. Give it to me. Give me the names, the connections, the proof of who really runs this network, and I'll give you your freedom. You'll use it to take over, Amma said, to consolidate power. Yes, and in doing so, I'll become the syndicate's golden child, untouchable, which means anyone under my protection is also untouchable, including you. It was elegant, ruthless, exactly the kind of deal that had no right answers. If she gave June the files, she'd be arming him with enough power to potentially control the entire syndicate, making him a king. If she didn't, the syndicate would keep coming, keep testing, keep pushing until something broke. I need time. You have 30 seconds, June interrupted. After that, Yang's backup plan kicks in, the one where his associates move on Ji-hee. You said she was safe. She is, right now, but Yang has contingencies, dead man switches. If he doesn't check in within the hour, his people execute their secondary objective. Amma looked at Jean. The files, are they real? Jean nodded reluctantly. Everything June said is true. The backup exists. I've been keeping it hidden for exactly this reason. And if I hand them over, if I make June into a king, then he becomes your ally or your enemy, depending on how he chooses to use that power. Amma turned back to June, studied his face, looking for any hint of deception, any tell that would reveal his true intentions. But all she saw was a reflection of herself, someone who'd learned to survive by becoming what the world demanded, someone who'd sacrificed pieces of their humanity for the people they loved, someone wearing a crown that was too heavy to hold, but too dangerous to put down. 30 seconds are up, June said softly. What's it going to be, Amma? She closed her eyes, thought about Mansik in that hospital bed, about Ji-hee sleeping peacefully, unaware of the wars being fought for her safety, about the life she wanted versus the life she'd been forced to live. And she made her choice. Jean, give him the files. Jean's eyes widened. Mrs. Choi?
Give him the files. Jean looked at her for a long moment, then pulled out a data stick from his jacket, handed it to June. June took it, slipped it into his pocket. Smart choice. Don't celebrate yet, Amma said, because I need something else from you. Something that makes this a real alliance, not just a transaction. What? I want Yang, alive. I want the chance to look him in the eye and ask him why. Why he hated me enough to risk everything. Why he thought destroying my family would give him power. I want to understand the mind of someone who would hurt a child to prove a point. Duyun considered this. What will you do with him? I don't know yet, but I need to see him, need to hear it from his own mouth. Otherwise, this never ends. I'll always wonder who's next, who else I wronged, who else is planning their revenge. And after you have your answers? Amma looked at Yang, who was watching her with defiant eyes. After I have my answers, he's yours. Do whatever the syndicate requires. I don't care. But first, he's mine. Ji-yoon nodded. Agreed. You have 1 hour with him. After that, he disappears. Permanently. Jean's men hauled Yang to his feet, dragged him to a back room. Amma followed, Ji-yoon behind her. Inside, they chained Yang to a chair. He was bleeding from where Jean had tackled him, but his eyes were still sharp, still calculating. Go ahead, Yang said. Ask your questions. Pretend this matters. Amma pulled up a chair, sat across from him. Why did you do it? I already told you. Power, respect, recognition. No, that's the surface. That's what you tell yourself to justify it. But I want the real reason, the one that kept you up at night, the one that made you willing to hurt innocent people. Yang's jaw clenched. You want the real reason? Fine, because you made me invisible. 8 years, Amma. 8 years I worked for Mansuk. I knew every detail of his operations. I saved his life twice. I covered up his mistakes. I was loyal when everyone else abandoned him. And then you came along, and suddenly I didn't matter anymore. Suddenly I was just another employee, replaceable, forgettable. So this was about jealousy? This was about being erased. Yang's voice rose. You waltzed in, killed Kong, married Mansuk, and took everything I'd built, everything I'd earned. And when I made one mistake, one single mistake, you threw me out like trash. No severance, no thanks, just gone. Amma felt something twist in her chest. You embezzled money. I borrowed it. My mother was dying, needed treatment I couldn't afford. I was going to pay it back, but you didn't care about context. You just wanted to show everyone that the new queen could execute anyone who stepped out of line. The words hit harder than they should have, because they were true. Amma had wanted to make an example, had wanted to show that she was tough. uncompromising, someone not to be crossed. She'd destroyed Yang without knowing his story, without caring about his reasons. "I'm sorry," she said quietly, "for what I did to you, for not listening, for not being better." Yang laughed bitterly. "Sorry? You're sorry? That's supposed to fix everything?" "No, nothing fixes this. But I need you to know that I understand now, that I see what I did, that I—" her voice broke slightly, "that I'm not proud of the person I became." "Then why keep fighting? Why not just walk away, give up the power and be happy with your family?" "Because they won't let me. The syndicate, the enemies, the ghosts of everyone I've wronged. They keep pulling me back, and the only way to protect my family is to keep being the monster they're afraid of." Yang looked at her with something that might have been pity. "Then you've already lost, because the monster always consumes you in the end." Alma stood, feeling the weight of his words settle over her. "Maybe, but at least my daughter will live long enough to hate me for it." She walked to the door, paused. "For what it's worth, Yang, I hope you find peace, whatever comes next." Yang's laugh followed her out. "There is no peace for people like us." Outside, Ji-yoon was waiting. "Did you get what you needed?" "I got truth. Whether I needed it is another question." "What now?" "Now I go home. I hold my husband, I call my daughter, and I try to remember why I'm fighting in the first place." Ji-yoon handed her a card, black, elegant, with a single phone number. "When you're ready to talk about what comes next, the alliance, the protection, the future." Amma took it. "And if I'm never ready, then I'll respect that. But Amma," he stepped closer, and she could smell his cologne again, that expensive, subtle scent that probably cost more than most people made in a month. "The world doesn't let people like us rest. We can partner, or we can be enemies, but neutrality isn't an option. Not anymore." "Why do you care? You have the files. You won. Why not just let me walk away?" Ji-yoon's face was unreadable. "Because I recognize what you are, what you could be, and I think together we could build something better than what we inherited, something that protects instead of destroys. Or you want an ally you can control." "Maybe both," he smiled. "Call it what you want, but the offer stands. Partnership, protection, power. All you have to do is say yes." Amma looked at the card in her hand, at Ji-yoon's face, at the future he was offering. Seductive, dangerous, impossible to refuse forever. "I'll think about it," she said finally. "Don't think too long. The world moves fast, and enemies don't wait for you to be ready." She walked away, Jean falling into step beside her. "Did we do the right thing, giving him those files?" "I don't know," Amma admitted. "But right now, that's all I can ask for." "What about Yang?" "Let Ji-yoon handle it. Whatever happens to him, I don't want to know." They drove to the hospital in silence. Amma's phone buzzed. A message from the security team watching Ji-hee. "All clear. She's asking for you." Tears burned behind Amma's eyes, but she didn't let them fall. When they reached Man-suk's room, he was awake, sitting up, looking infinitely better than he had that morning. He saw her, and his whole face transformed with relief. "Amma!" She crossed the room in 3 steps, wrapped her arms around him, holding him so tight it probably hurt. "I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I should have told you everything. Should have trusted you. Should have—" "Shh," he murmured, stroking her hair. "We're okay. We're all okay. For now. But Man-suk, there are things I need to tell you. Things about Park Jun and the syndicate and choices I made tonight that I'm not sure were right. Tell me tomorrow. Tonight, just stay. Be here. Be my wife instead of a queen." So she did. She climbed into the hospital bed beside him, careful of his IV lines, and just held him, let herself be human for a few stolen hours. But even as she closed her eyes, she felt the weight of Ji-yoon's card in her pocket, felt the future pressing in. felt the crown she'd claimed settling heavier with each passing moment. And somewhere in Seoul, in the shadows where power really lived, Park Ji-yoon was plugging Kang's files into his computer, learning the names of everyone who really ran this world, building an empire, becoming a king, with Amma's help, whether she'd meant to or not. 3 days later, Ji-hee came home, oblivious to everything that had happened, full of stories about her time at the vacation house and the nice guards who let her stay up late watching movies. Amma held her daughter while she chattered, breathed in her shampoo scent, memorized the feel of her small arms wrapped around her neck. "Mommy, why are you crying?" Ji-hee asked. "Happy tears, baby. Just happy you're home." "Can we have ice cream?" "Yes, whatever you want." They sat in the kitchen, eating ice cream, pretending the world outside didn't exist. Mansuk joined them, still moving carefully but healing, looking at his wife and daughter like they were miracles. And for a moment, just one perfect stolen moment, Amma let herself believe it was enough. But her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it, almost let it ring through to voicemail. But Ji-hee was happily destroying a sundae, and Mansuk was laughing at something she said, and Amma thought, one more call, then I'm done. She stepped into the hallway, answered. "Hello, Amma." Ji-yoon's voice was warm, friendly, completely at odds with the darkness of their last meeting. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "What do you want?" "Just checking in, making sure you're adjusting to our new arrangement." "We don't have an arrangement. I gave you files, you gave me protection. Transaction complete." "Is that what you think this was? A transaction?" He laughed softly. "Amma, what we started in that warehouse is just the beginning. The syndicate is already moving. They want to meet you, officially, welcome you into the fold." Her blood went cold. "I didn't agree to that." "You agreed when you handed over those files. You became a player whether you intended to or not, and now the game requires you to show up." "And if I refuse?" Silence. "Then you won't, because you're smart enough to know that refusing now would make you a liability, and liabilities don't get protection, they get eliminated." Amma closed her eyes, felt the trap closing around her. "When?" "Next week. I'll send you the details. Dress formally, bring Mansuk if you want, show them the power couple, the empire builders, the future." "Ji-yoon, this is good for you, Amma, I promise. Trust me." The line went dead. Amma stood in her hallway, phone in hand, feeling the weight of choices she couldn't take back. She'd wanted to protect her family, wanted to keep them safe, wanted to walk away from this world, but instead, she traded one war for another, given up her freedom for the illusion of safety, made a deal with the devil and now owed him his presence at Hell's banquet. Behind her, she heard Ji-hee's laughter, heard Mansuk's voice, warm and loving, calling her back to the kitchen. One more minute, she promised herself. One more minute of being just a mother, just a wife, just human. Then she'd put on the crown again, face the syndicate, become whatever she needed to be to survive. But for now, just for now, she went back to the kitchen, back to her daughter and her husband and their melting ice cream, back to the only thing that still felt real, even knowing it couldn't last, even knowing the bill was coming due, even knowing that Park Ji-yoon had just claimed his first piece of her soul and it wouldn't be the last. Because the cost of crowns wasn't paid in gold, it was paid in moments like this, stolen, precious, already slipping away. End of part 4. The game has evolved, the players have changed, and Amma Choi is about to discover that some cages are built from protection, not prison bars, and they're just as impossible to escape. What did you think? Drop your theories in the comments. Can Amma trust Park Ji-yoon? Is there any way out of the syndicate? What will happen when she meets them officially? Smash that like button if this chapter left you breathless. Subscribe for part 5, where everything Amma thought she knew about power will be tested. Until next time, remember that the most dangerous alliances are the ones that feel like salvation. See you soon.